Hiya, my name is Hannah Chandler. I'm a choreographer and dancer based in London. I also have a degree in psychology and so will also work in behavioural science, and I'm an expert in behaviour change.
So what do you love about dance?
So many things, and I'm really, really fortunate to be able to say that. Don't get me wrong, there are some rather tough times. Particularly when there's not much work, that's stressful. But what do I love about my work?
Yeah, so let's maybe break it down into the three components. So you have performing, teaching, and choreography. Starting with performing.
There's no buzz like it. There's no buzz like it. It's like, oh, you're backstage, I can just feel it now. You're backstage and like the music is all starting up and like you can hear the chatter of the audience members. And and then you know that you're on this countdown and you're like, oh, what's the first move? And then you go out there and it's just, and to be sharing that moment with the audience, the enjoyment from it is like, make it like, having those, obviously if the choreography allows you to do that and the artist allows you to do it, but just to like have those moments where you catch someone's eye and you're just like, they're loving it. That's amazing. Just wait for that. You'll love it. I mean, you might not, but you probably, if you're thinking about going down this route, you probably will.
Yeah, I'm really not. Tell me about teaching. What do you love about that?
When you watch someone unlock something, this new way of moving, and it completely transforms the way they look, but then also how they feel. And when you change how someone feels when they're moving, you see that beyond this is the difference. You see it literally coming from here. That's cool. That's so cool to watch them take that step up. Fulfilling.
Yeah, totally get that. And choreography?
What I quite like is taking a vision that I can see in my head and putting it on people and then actually seeing it in real life as well. That's really cool. And what can sometimes happen is like dancers might say, hey, what if you did this? Or they might make a mistake and you're like, actually, let's go with that. And then it just makes it even better. But again, that's all of like about working together and creating something together. It's just, yeah.
So your classes are called LoveDance. How would you describe the styles that you teach?
It's kind of what I feel like or that week or what is popular that week. So we've done jazz, musical theatre, hip hop, house, whacking, voguing, salsa, jive, commercial's probably what I would brand it under, and because we cycle through a lot of different choreographic styles, you get to taste a number of different ways of moving, and so there'll be ways of moving that suit you and there'll be ways of moving that really, really don't suit you, but it's always fun to just like have a go and try, and then you can choose, like if you're like, oh, I love jazz, but I am not a hip-hop person. Fine. Come on the weeks we do jazz, and then you don't have to come on the weeks we do hip-hop. But if you're like, I'm not a hip-hop person, but I just love the environment, great, come anyway. Like, there's absolutely no judgment.
Right. So what sort of people tend to come to your classes? How much dance experience do they typically have?
I have had some people that come who have never ever danced before, never stepped foot in a dance studio. And then I've also got some people who work in the industry as well. So I've got this real breadth in terms of ability. LoveDance's mantra is just like, as long as you're a nice person and you like having a bit of a boogie, great, class is for you. So that does mean that I have a range of abilities. The way that I personally do it is I have variations of the routine. So I will demonstrate a beginner version and an advanced version. And then I will keep flip-flopping, demonstrating between the two. And then if I've got someone who like is even beyond that level, I'll go up to them privately and say, right, now on this bit, what I want you to do, try this.
So I know you share my view that dance is really beneficial to mental health.
I mean, music in itself is so healing and therapeutic. And then when you're around a number of other people who are also having a good time, dancing is social. That's where it comes from. it's actually coming back to the fundamental connection with other humans, and you're in it together and you're working towards something together. There's like this collective goal that you're working towards. And then of course you're like, it's also physical. You're literally changing your brain chemistry as you move, particularly as you move to music, and to also at the end feel like you've accomplished because you've got a routine. Even if you've only got like 2 or 3 steps from that routine, you've still achieved something. I think it's multifaceted. You've got the social element, you've got the physical element, and then you've obviously got something that you're working towards. That I just think, yeah, like I really believe the research that dance is just great.
Yeah. Do you think there's been a shift in attitude toward mental health, that people are now more willing to talk about their challenges?
So I do think that we are really making steps towards the right thing. And like mental health now, saying that you have struggles with your mental health isn't taboo on the whole. However, where I do think that there needs to be some work and improvement is sometimes we don't know how to listen when someone is telling us about mental health, and we don't necessarily know how to respond, how to react, how to help. And I think it's difficult because it's luck of the draw as to whether you have an understanding of mental health or not. And that understanding either comes from having experienced it yourself or having grown up in an environment where people openly talk about mental health, and you get an understanding that way. If you are now haven't had that upbringing, and then suddenly someone comes to you to talk about depression, for example, it can be quite hard to understand if you haven't experienced that yourself. So, for example, I have depression, and I go through bouts of being okay and not being okay, and try and explain what happens to someone who hasn't experienced it is very, very difficult, because I can say, you know, I become introverted, I become withdrawn. It's very hard for me to send a text message. If you haven't experienced depression, I can completely understand how it's like, well, just pick up the phone and just tell me that you're all right. And it's like, okay, how do you communicate that doing that is the equivalent of going out on a 10K run? To find that motivation is really, really difficult. So yes, talking about mental health, it's become so much better. It's not a taboo. We're very open about it. But the real understanding of what it is, listening, is also another skill that is rare these days. So yes, it's better, but we've got some ways to go, I think.
Right. I know that one of your goals was not just to create classes, but to start building a community, and that very much stemmed from your own experience of arriving in London rather young, not knowing anybody. How did you set about navigating that?
Well, the thing is, I'm quite a shy person. I know sometimes it doesn't look like it, but I am an introvert by nature. And so to just walk up to a group of people, I find cripplingly hard. But for me to walk into a studio and just be like, hi, I'm new, I'd like to make friends, I find like it's just not going to happen. And I still remember the first person who spoke to me properly. I don't think he'd remember, to be honest. But sometimes going up to someone and just saying hi can make the world of difference. But like everyone says that, like when you come to London, it can be a really lonely place, or it can be the time of your life. And so if you can try and find that space, that hobby, if you haven't found it in work, if you haven't found it in your house, there are things out there. There are, like LoveDance, we might not be the most well known, but we're there. And there'll be other things, I don't know, rock climbing, groups for rock climbing, groups for cocktail making, who knows. Something that's really important to me is every time I have someone new come through the door, I will go up to them, hi, what's your name? Like, my name's Hannah, this is that, and explain how the class runs down. Have you danced before? Oh, what kind of styles of dance have you done? And just have a little bit of an interaction. And so then if there's someone else who's new, be like, oh, let me introduce you. Let me introduce you to someone who's been here a while. If they come in and they're like, oh, I've never danced before, let me introduce you to this person who had never danced before. Now they're front and center. People do that themselves now. I still go over and say hi, but then I'll just start seeing like little friendships are popping up. And then I see on Instagram, like, they've gone out with each other of a weekend and like, oh, this is just lovely. This is just so great. So, yeah.
You also teach bar fitness, and that's something very strongly associated with ballet. And I would think that that's only for people with like a superhuman physique, that you had to start training when you were 3, but you believe it's for everybody.
Ballet is for everyone, because you don't, to be a ballet dancer, okay, I'm not talking professionals, but to be a ballet dancer, to dance ballet, you don't have to have your leg up by your ear. No. Like, it can stay on the floor. That's completely fine. In fact, that's how ballet started. Very demure, right? Quite twee, very small, little gestures, right? It's only nowadays and like through the progression that like you have this. I mean, it's beautiful, right? Bar fitness, it's a bit of a mix of yoga, Pilates, and ballet bar technique. It takes the techniques of ballet and then puts it into a fitness environment.
What about those people who say, yeah, but I'm not as young as I used to be, I'm not as flexible as I used to be, I don't think it's for me?
As long as you're under the guidance of someone who understands the movement and can keep you safe while doing it, I could almost guarantee you would be surprised at the effects. As long as you gave it time, yeah. I mean, there are some amazing people. Like you see now on Instagram, they're like people in their 80s and 90s doing weightlifting, like heavy weightlifting. So age is a number, as long as you keep your body healthy.
You have one very unusual focus in your fitness classes, and that's feet.
I do. This is a real focus for bar class specifically, because I am all about like longevity of the body. I think for me personally, I don't want to be immobile when I like get into my later years, because that's has huge impacts on your mental health, obviously your physical health, but yeah, your mental health as well, if you can't get out and about and have those social connections that we were talking about before. Where does all of the like mobility stem from? You're walking around on your feet all the time, right? And that's where your balance comes from. That's your connection to the earth. Yet, how many fitness classes have you trained your feet muscles? How many dance classes have you ever trained your feet muscles? Ballet, you'll train them. Everything else? Tap, you'll train the ankles, maybe. And sure, in weightlifting, there's an element of using your ankles when you go into a squat. But your feet muscles, not often done. There's something in your body called proprioception, which is how your body and the muscles within your body can like sense where your body is in space, all right? And your feet are a key part of that. And so like you're walking along, if you're walking along uneven terrain, you don't necessarily have to look down the entire time. Your feet and your ankles are going to tell your body, like in space. Now, if your feet aren't as mobile or your ankles aren't as mobile, guess what? You're going to have issues and problems with that. And so the number of falls that happen in older age because people have neglected their feet is quite high. So you want to make sure that you're strengthening the bottom of your feet and stretching them out at the same time. And to do that, you just have to come to my class and I'll show you how to do it. I mean, you can find all of this online, but yeah, that's why feet are so important, because if you fall, that particularly of older age, you're at risk of really damaging your hip or your wrist or something, and then guess what? Your mobility has yet again decreased. So let's keep the body healthy. Start with the feet.
So returning to dance, a lot of people dream about that as a profession, and that's something that you've achieved. How have you made that happen?
I think this is a really good question, because when I was young, I had no idea. It was something that only happened to people who had ridiculous amounts of talent and were seen by a talent scout, or were born in LA, or I don't know, born into people who were already a dancing family. But that's not the case. It's actually accessible, but who's going to tell us how to get there? And I used to do dance classes, once a week, tap for half an hour once a week. But I would watch West End shows and be in awe of them. I would watch dancers on the TV, watch Strictly Come Dancing, and just be like, that was so far from what I thought I could achieve. And so I just kept down the academic route, just love it. And it was only then when I moved to uni to study psychology, joined a dance group, met a few dance people, then got a job dancing professionally through someone, and I latched onto it. I loved it. I put in all the work. I was at all the rehearsals. I was, again, rehearsing every night, so I had the choreo down, because I was like, this is like I'm living my dream right now. And then it became a bit more, that unlocked something for me, because I was like, I really love this. This is what I want to do. And then I got into a relationship with a guy who had found dance at 16, and he was training, he was now, going on to London to pursue dance and train in dance. And so I kind of almost followed in his footsteps a little bit. And I remember this so clearly, because I graduated uni. I came out and got what I thought would be my dream psychology job. And I absolutely hated it. Because it wasn't who I am. And so then, I signed up for that, learned that actually maybe I could do this, because I had a great teacher who was really encouraging. And I remember I was in the bathroom and I was just scrolling. Instagram was pretty fresh back then. Scrolling Instagram, and this video came up, and someone said, if you don't do it now, you'll regret it for the rest of you'll just be thinking, what if? And I was like, I don't want to be at the end of my life and thinking, what if? Sat in the audience of a West End production thinking, I wish I had. At least if I give it a go, if I try it and I fail, at least I can say that I tried. And you know what? I'm now freelancing, doing the dance thing. Okay, fine, I'm not yet on the West End. Not yet on the West End. Not yet touring with big name artists, but I've done some pretty cool stuff. I've got some pretty cool credits. And I don't have a 9-to-5 Monday to Friday job anymore. I'm doing what I love, and it's a little bit about finding your own pathway. Even if you think it's miles and miles away, it's actually not. And you don't have to start from the age of 3. Dancing on your own in your room is fun. It is fun. But dancing with people, you do that with someone who you love, takes it to the whole next level, and it's just vibing. It's just, just to find those moments in life, because life can be so hard, and watching the news is just, horrendous. So if you can find those moments where you're really present with someone, I think that's another thing. Let's add that to why it's so good for your mental health. Because it's mindful, because you're present, because you're in the moment, because you're just enjoying. And you're not necessarily thinking. And it's just, we love thinking. But sometimes we like just feeling. So, that.